What are your true online dating horror stories? Story 1. My sister signed up for one site and got matched with my other sister's ex-boyfriend. That was kinda awkward. Story 2. Friend of a friend met a girl online. They chatted for a while and she made plans to visit him. When she go there, she was apparently a huge drag, boring, didn't want to do anything, and much heavier than her picture. They had nothing to talk about, and he just counted the days until she left while sleeping on his couch. The day he thought she was supposed to leave, she confessed that she didn't have a return ticket. She thought she was just going to move in with him. He called her mother to get her home, and her mom said that she didn't want her daughter back and offered him $50 to keep her. He bought her a bus ticket and sent her back anyway. Story 3. I went on a date with a charming young man from a dating website who only wanted me to model for his adult content website. Being way too nice, I actually rebuilt the site for him. Story 4. Got a single drink with a guy, declined a second. The date was perhaps an hour long. I'm not interested in more. As we exit the bar, it turns out we're walking in the same direction. Alas. Out of nowhere, he puts his arm around me. I have no idea how to react, resolve the problem by drifting to the right until his arm can no longer physically be around me. Eventually, I'm in arm's reach, so he does it again. There's a block to go till my place. I'm not sure what would be more awkward, removing his arm and walking together for a block, or enduring the arm. I endure the arm. We reach my street. I turn to go. He tries to kiss me. Aggressively, I duck to avoid his lips, say, "No, no, we're hugging. Then I flee. He calls out, "So what do you think?" I, baffled as to how this is happening, call back, "I think I'm going home." I get a text message minutes later saying it was nice to meet me. Winky face. I respond with a polite message informing him I'm not interested. He sends a slew of additional texts telling me if I'm feeling as passionate as he is, we should meet back at the bar tonight. I text back that I'm not interested again, this time more firmly. Commence about 8. Months of texting and emailing by him informing me that I'm ugly, need to lose 30 pounds. Nobody will ever love me. I'm a graceless gargoyle, my personal favorite. On and on. It's all very amusing, actually, once it's clear he's not going to escalate it to physical stalking. The only response I ever offer is a single "stop contacting me or I'll involve the police" early on. Eventually, he slows down a bit and I assume he's latched on to some other girl. Then, a few months ago, he starts sending me love notes. Tells me he wants to eat strawberries off my thigh and take me to his love Casbah. He wants to be Facebook friends, finds me on Flickr, tells me he's got a photographic memory for my bikini pictures. The last time he heard anything back from me was July 6th, 2010. This month he's offering to buy me lingerie. Sigh. It was funnier when he disliked me. Those were good times. TLDR, get one drink with a guy and end up with over a year of non-stop texting. Answer. I dislike the arm-around move on a first date. If you're doing it because we're obviously really into each other, and/or it's freezing, or we're in an unsafe area, or whatever, okay. But if you're doing it because you know there's no graceful way for me to evade, and this has been my experience 100 of the time, you're guaranteed to lose any interest I might have had. Story 5. Met a girl on OkCupid and went a date. I like large women, but this girl was 4'6" and weighed 297 lbs. Being the nice guy I am, we went out to the mall. After her buying the whole fudge food court, she then tried to get me to buy her a 90 Minnie Mouse lamp. I said no. She begged. No. She almost started crying. No. So we left. In the car, she tells me this. Will you marry me so my son, my daughter, and I can have free Army health insurance. I slammed on the brakes on I-10 and make her walk. Never heard from her since, and I hope she got her fudge lamp. Story 6. I met a guy on OkCupid who turned out to be a champ. We couldn't meet for a while after initially messaging because he worked a lot, and I was going out of town for a bit. We Skyped a few times, and before we eventually hung out, he let me know that he was divorced. Well, in the process of a divorce. Well, he was moving out this weekend. And his wedding ring was a horrific finger tattoo, tattooed on purpose. Despite all this, I still decided to give him a chance, and we hung out. One night, pretty late, he came by my place on his moped scooter thing, which I found out he has because he wrecked his Jeep and got a DUI. And he was already tipsy. He made me take him to get food at a bar, where he proceeded to drink more. We came back to my place where he had to sleep on my couch because he was too tipsy to drive home. When I went to kick him out the next morning, he asked if he could lick my private area yet. What in the royal fudge? I never spoke to him again, even though he kept texting me to help him move out of his wife's house. Such a literal nightmare that I can't fathom it really happened to me. Story 7. I'd been chatting with a smart, attractive guy. We decided to meet at a Dave & Buster's for some food and games. When I saw him for the first time, I wanted to run. He was at least 100 pounds heavier than his picture. He had a full neck beard. He was wearing navy sweatpants with a black t-shirt and black combat boots. Sweatpants? UG. Story 8. While meeting a guy for the first time, he proceeded to nervously rub his bare hands all over his bare feet and then rake his fingers through his beard. Hands to feet, to beard, to feet, to beard. I just sat there, grossed out, thinking, foot beard, his beard smells like feet. Barf. Story 9. Match.com paired my mom with my dad. They'd been divorced for 10 years at this point. Also, on a getting-to-know-you phone call she had, the dude decided to take a piss. Classy. Story 10. I went out on a date with a girl I met online, but she turned out to be much better looking in person than in her online photos, so I told her to fudge off for misrepresenting herself and walked out. Story 11. Not my story, but it's a good one. Girl in EverQuest gaming forum complains about going on a date with another player who turned out to be a complete creep. She met him in a public area and brought friends along, and the scumbag ended up chatting up her much more attractive friend. People were in uproar. Everyone felt terrible for this poor girl. Then it turns out that when this poor girl agreed to exchange pictures with this guy, well, she was morbidly obese, so instead of sending a picture of herself, she sent one of her much more attractive friend. And now she was calling him a creep and looking for sympathy. Holy hell. Meanie be delusional. Turned out that the much more attractive friend was upset at first, of course, but when he explained what had happened, she had a laugh at her pathetic friend and then proceeded to date the guy. Don't know what happened later. Story 12. Went on a date with a girl who said she was a sushi chef. Everything went better than expected, except for the part where she neglected to tell me that she only worked half-time as a sushi chef, and the rest of the time she moonlighted as a dominatrix. Story 13. I don't know why I didn't just post this with my main post, but since it's getting up votes with no comments, I'll post it here. I've been on plenty of online dates and had a few relationships start from OkCupid. Largely, everything has been pretty normal. Girls weren't insane, looked like their photos, etc. Recently, I started talking to a girl who was completely my type. Intelligent, sarcastic, really into fitness, and had a great sense of humor. The first night we chatted online turned into a 4-hour phone call. I can't even recall what we talked about, but there was an instant connection. It felt great. We talked for about a week on the phone before our planned date. When the day came, things started happening. Her phone crapped out, etc., etc. We weren't able to have the date. The next day, same thing, different excuses. It still wasn't a big deal to me, but then one of my friends asked who she was when he saw I had just friended her on Facebook. Her profession requires for a strict database of anyone in her field. He took it upon himself to look her up. She didn't exist. Things started to get crazy at this point, and I don't want to elaborate, but I can say with about 99% certainty that this girl actually was someone completely different. Felt really weird to be lied to like that. TLDR. The internet is a scary place. Answer. Same thing happened to a friend of mine, but she lived 600 miles away, and this went on for a couple of years. Seriously, hundreds of hours online chatting, phone calls, letters. The guy turned into a complete recluse. Anytime we wanted to go out, he couldn't because she was going to call or something. This had already started ringing my bovine byproduct detector, but then she was coming to visit. Dude went apeshit, cleaning his place, buying new clothes, food, cleaning up his car. Day before she's supposed to get here, he gets a call that she's in the hospital. Relatively minor car accident, but they need to keep her for observation. Dumb shit buys this, and she strings him along for another 6 months. Next time he's going out there and she calls again, day before he's leaving, to say she has to fly out to California for her grandmother's funeral, and they'll have to postpone. Again, I went apeshit on him this time because he was starting to buy this banquet of bullshit again. He was pretty mad at me for a while and still kept calling and chatting online. Every time they would set up a visit, some other disaster would happen. After a while, he finally admitted that it wasn't going to happen and quit contacting her. It messed him up for quite a while after that. Story 14. I went out with a guy a few times that I had met online. There was just zero spark, and I have a problem with hurting people's feelings, so I met up with him to hang out. We were at his house, and when it was time for me to gracefully say goodbye, he looked at me dead square in the eyes with a straight face and said, "I thought you could stay a while and take your clothes off." I gave him the WTF look and left. I didn't mind so much hurting his feelings after that. Story 15. Not an online dating story, but since I met my current boyfriend on OkCupid, this story is to even things out and remind us that there are crazies in real life too. I met this guy in my first month of college, and he asked me out. I'd never been on a real grown-up date, so I said yes. We went out to dinner and an on-campus screening of the original Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. The date was fine, but I wasn't attracted to him at all, and I got a similar feeling from him. There were just a lot of pauses in conversation that neither of us made an effort to fill, and we really had nothing in common. After the date, he offered to walk me back to my dorm. We were almost there when he suggested we take a detour through the rose garden. I resigned myself to having to actively reject this guy rather than us passively rejecting each other. So we sat down on a bench in the garden and, very sweetly, asked if he could kiss me. I said that he was a really great guy, but I didn't want him to kiss me, and I thought we should just be friends. He didn't say anything, so I looked over at him and saw that he was crying. I felt terrible and immediately started apologizing and rambling until I petered out and then quietly said, "Well, I guess I'll just go home now." He wiped his eyes and walked with me. As we walked back, he asked me what he did wrong. I emphatically told him he didn't do anything wrong, that sometimes these things just happen. It's nothing anyone could control, just trying to make him not cry. I finally got back to my dorm and called my best friend to tell her all about this weird date and warn her about stranger danger. As we were talking, I got the call waiting beep and saw that the guy was calling me. This was maybe 5 minutes after he'd dropped me off. I thought maybe he'd locked himself out of his building or something, but instead, when I answered, I was greeted with a, "Yeah." I was just wondering what I did wrong. I spent another few minutes assuring him that he hadn't done anything wrong, that we just weren't right for each other. He shouldn't take it personally. I finally got off the phone and called my friend back with an update. A few minutes later, I heard a knock on my door. I answered, and there he was, in all his unbelievably awkward glory. I told my friend I'd call her back and asked him what he was doing there. He brushed past me, sat on my roommate's bed, and asked me what he did wrong. I was done trying to make him feel better, so I told him that I wasn't attracted to him and he was making me uncomfortable. He seemed to take the hint, but continued to sit there in silence. For the next few minutes, he'd make some observation about my dorm room, nice queen poster, and I'd nod awkwardly, and then there would be silence until he noticed something else. Then he asked me if I was on substances, because he couldn't date a girl who was on substances. I was not, unfortunately. Then he remembered that I'd never seen Homestar Runner, so he made me watch at least 4 videos on my laptop while peeking over my shoulder and saying, "You aren't laughing, you don't get it. Why aren't you laughing?" Then, at around minute 45 of this visit, he said, "I'll call you," and ran out of my dorm room. Tell Dar there are crazies in real life too. Answer. By the 3rd time he asked, "What did I do wrong?" In your place, I'd have said, "What you did wrong is not listen to me, ignore what I said to you, and keep on pushing repeatedly." That makes people very uncomfortable. It's a warning sign that if they keep hanging out with you, you'll keep not listening to them and pushing. Once you've made this mistake with someone, it's too late to get their trust, but you can make sure not to repeat this same mistake with the next girl you go out on a date with. Now that you know, please leave me alone and try another girl. And remember, don't repeat. This mistake with her, you can do better next time. Story 16. I only ever did the online dating thing once. The girl arrived looking like a detoxing transvestite and proceeded to laughingly tell me how she had duped her ex-husband out of hundreds of thousands of euros and had left him destitute while she lived in his house, rent-free. Check, please. Story 17. This happened Friday. I met a guy on OkCupid and we had been talking for about 2 weeks. We had so much in common and we had great conversation on the phone. He'd text me all day and so on. Come Friday, we were getting ready to meet for drinks at a bar at 10 p.m. He called around 8:30 to confirm the time and to say he's excited to finally meet me. At 9 p.m., I got a text message pretty much saying, "Yeah, I'm gonna go drink at my friend's house instead." Jerk. Answer. I've had this happen to me before. I'm a guy. I was sort of seeing this one girl back in college. It started as a one-night stand that turned into seeing each other about once every couple days and going out drinking, etc. And I invited her over one night because I was making homemade pizza. I had texted her around 5 or so just to say something silly like, I was happy she was coming over, didn't get a response. And around 7:30, while I'm still wondering where she is, she texts me and says she's going to a friend's house and wants to know if I wanted to come along. I wasn't too happy about that. Turns out she was just a loser anyways, so I have no hard feelings about it. Story 18. I suspect this is going to be 15,000 stories, all with the same conclusion. The chick was actually fat. Story 19. I was chatting to this guy in Texas for months. Things seemed to be going well. He told me he was a musician and sent me a tape of some of his songs, including one he'd supposedly written for me. A couple weeks later, my sister told me she'd seen this album mentioned in Rolling Stone, and all of the songs on it were the ones on my tape. The name of the person who put out the album wasn't the name he'd given me. I confronted him about it the next time we talked. I was really heartbroken because I'd really liked this guy. Another time, I met a guy that I'd been chatting to, and we hung out at my apt for a while. While he was there, my size 0, really cute roomie came in and I introduced them. When he left, he asked me out to a movie and gave me his phone number. I phoned him a couple days later to see when he wanted to go to the movie, only to find out he'd given me a random number. So why the fudge ask me to go out if he didn't actually want to? Later, when I saw him online again, he said he really liked my roomie. Too bad for him he wasn't that good looking and she was really shallow and wouldn't have looked twice at him anyway. Then I met my husband, also online. We spent the first 4 years of our marriage living apart, which really sucked, but we've been married for 14 years now, so it's not always bad. Story 20. My ex-work partner met his GF on the internet. They split up when he returned home one day to find her naked and self-care with a dildo in front of her laptop, with some guy she'd also met on a dating site. Her excuse, online intimacy ain't cheating. Story 21. Had a really apprehensive date with a Russian girl. I guess she was just nervous, but darn, she made it so off-putting by complaining about everything, not paying attention and answering my questions with "nah, and uh-huh." When the waiter came to ask about the check, I blurted out, "Separate," so loud the entire restaurant looked at us. Story 22. During the early AOL chat room days of meeting people in 2002, pre-Facebook, I met this girl online, we exchange pics, then yes. She is totally cool over the phone. I want to make a good impression, so of course I do a lot of prepping and get new clothes, my car all cleaned. I met her at a diner in Long Island, but tell her I want to hang in the city, Manhattan. We take my car and I drive us in. I bring her to this spot downtown that has a cool downstairs with a fireplace. We order drinks, she is drinking Red Devils, and I got a vodka soda. She finishes the drink quite quickly and orders another one. In between waiting for hers, she takes drinks of mine. Obviously, I see where this is going, and on her third one, she gets up and wants to leave with me. She wobbles and almost falls into the fireplace. We get to my car, buzzed. She is trashed and starts kissing me. Enjoying the making out, but then she whips out her boob and starts sucking on it in front of me, then puts it in my face. Thinking to myself, wow, what the hell is going on? We're driving, and she needs to use the restroom. I stop by a McDonald's in Manhattan traffic, mind you. She gets out and can barely stand up. She falls down. I have to bring her back into my car as passerbys give me the, "Oh, you're totally date rapping that chick" look. We are driving back to her car in Long Island at the diner, and again she whips her boobs out. At this point, I'm totally turned off and sober. When we get to Queens at the light and she gets super sick. She starts to throw up everywhere, all over my car and all over her boobs that are sticking out. It smelled like hot passing, and the problem was at this point she was totally trashed and in no condition to drive. I had to take her back to my parents' house instead since I didn't know where she lived and she couldn't tell me anything at this point. I get back to my house, open the door to my car, and she can't stand. I go to close the door and, as I do, she falls and hits her head. Great. At this point, I don't want her to die from a concussion. I have to keep her awake. I get her into the bathroom at my place. She gets totally naked and throws up everywhere. I can believe this is happening. She covered the mirrors, the sink, even the shower curtains with vomit. I have to keep her awake, and then in all of this naked vomit-smelling girl, she tries to kiss me. OTF, I clean her up. Try to wash her clothes and keeping her awake in my room for now. She is awake and I go to clean my car up from all the vomit. It's now morning and she is embarrassed and sober. I got her clothes washed and my car cleaned and am driving her back to her car that was parked at the diner. On by the way, she throws up again. WTF? I cleaned it up again. She was so embarrassed and now at this point I'm just, when is this going to be over? I get back to the diner. Her car is gone. It was towed. I'm just totally over it. And now must drive her back to her house. She lives an hour away. Pull up to her house and just as I get to her driveway, throw up. The worst date ever. She called me the next day and said, "Oh, I totally blacked out. What happened?" Then offered to fudge me. I just hung up on her. Story 23. I met this really cute girl on Plenty of Fish and we had a really good first date. However, it turns out she only likes to talk about drinking and her ex-boyfriends. Story 24. Probably the time the guy tried to put his arm around me when we were sitting at this club. I kept moving a little bit further and further away, hoping he would get the hint. He didn't. And his arm, I swear it was like an Inspector Gadget arm, and it just kept getting longer and longer the further I moved. I finally said I had a headache and wanted to go home.